Hey, this is Ty.
And this is Joe. Welcome back to the 2B podcast.
Hey, we're two Black educators living in Boston, and we are seeking Black excellence.
Yes. And we started 2B because we thought, why can't we gather, learn something, and have a good time? It turns out you can, and we'll prove it.
That's right. Hey, it's April 23rd, 2020. I know, I know these days are running together. But let's get this started. And if you haven't done so already, please follow us and subscribe. It's at 2B Podcast on all social media platforms.
2B is partnering with E4E because, frankly, we all want to be educators for excellence. And during these times, we're still trying to figure it out, but we think that community helps. So thank you for being here. Every day in the month of May, E4E will be highlighting exemplary Boston educators, and we are engaging the community in these efforts. So we are hoping that you will tell us who you think should be uplifted during this time. So we are going to put a survey, and you will be able to place your nominations that way.
That's right. That's right. And, the good folks over at E4E, they really strive to bring teacher voices to the forefront. They really pushed us to be here right now, especially in the form of educational activism. So if you're interested in doing so, doing this work, if you want to write an op-ed, a video blog, or in some other way you want to complete the survey, then you can definitely do that by messaging us because we're live right now. So on Facebook or YouTube, or you can email. The email's right there at the bottom of the screen in green. It's jreciteris@e4e.org.
Yes, yes, yes. And we will definitely put that up again, but if you didn't get it. So before we dive all the way in, we want to take a moment to be mindful and to get engaged. Mm-hmm. And Tyrell, you brought this up before. This is National Poetry Month. So
it is.
I don't feel like we can have National Poetry Month without bringing up Maya Angelou, the late, great, acclaimed
Queen Maya.
Yes, Queen Maya. Oh my goodness! And the Poetry Foundation again did an amazing article. We shared Nikki Giovanni's. They did another great one for Maya Angelou, and she is going to bring us into this moment. She says, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude."
Okay, now.
Okay? If you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change yourself. Change that attitude.
Change gonna come. I can't sing. I won't do it.
No, yes, you can. You lying. You lying. I can't sing. You sing. You better sing.
That's not what my family tells me. So I got to go with what they say. But no, she's definitely right. We have to change. I mean, we can't be so stagnant and stay in the same place. If this quarantine and the COVID-19 outbreak hasn't taught us that change is going to come whether we want it or not. And we have to be able to roll with the punches and adapt and transform and evolve. It's a must.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you are grappling with right now that you realize you can't change, but you're working to come to terms with?
When they're going to let me out the house? Okay. Listen, by all means, I understand we're doing the right thing. We're staying safe. We are flattening the curve by being quarantined. But at the same time, man, it has been tough. I have never wanted to play outside so much. Right now, I can see the kids outside my window riding their bikes, kicking the soccer ball. I just want to be out there. I just want to.
You know what's funny?
One day soon.
It's one of those things. It's like, damn, I want kids or a dog. I've never wanted either. But right now, if you got kids or a dog and you go outside, nobody looks at you funny. It's like, oh, you got an excuse. You can be here.
We need it. We need some fresh air. We need it.
The rest of us just looking like they're like, why are you here? You should be in the house. Those snide looks. Like, I'm not appreciating
Listen, get your mask on and go outside. These beautiful days, it's just hard to sit inside. The breeze from the window is not gonna do it. It's just not gonna do it.
That is so true. Okay. So the thing I'm trying to come to terms with is that people are equating wearing a mask to being pro-choice.
Mm.
Have y'all seen that? My body, my choice, talking about wearing a mask. I said, my God.
I don't. I'm just confused. I mean, so not wearing a mask means what? You're trying to infect other people. You don't care about yourself. I mean, I don't really understand that stance. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh my God. And then I was telling a friend this, and she absolutely pointed out, and the people doing this are in the South. And I don't know if you know how those states feel about pro-choice, but I was like, stop it. Stop it. You're not even pro-choice to begin with. Oh my goodness.
You know, I have a lot of friends, family down south in Florida and Georgia in particular, and they've assured me it's not them. Okay. So there are some people down there that are partaking, and you know, Georgia's opening up tomorrow, and they said they will be in the house. They will be in the house. So they're not worried about it.
But there's also talk about like herd immunity, and should we just all go? And then, you know, Sweden's doing it. So I'm not even sure what to think.
These COVID times, people losing their minds in these COVID times, and for good reason for some. I understand that, you know, business wise, a lot of folks, especially small business owners like myself, you know, this is a period of struggle. Whether even if you plan for it, I'm not really sure how many businesses plan to be closed for a month or extended beyond that in some places. So,
right.
You know, I do understand the desire to get the economy going, to have people, you know, exchange goods for money and whatnot. But at the very same time, man, are we doing that at the risk of people's lives?
Yes, Texas governor said that there are more important things than living. So, you know, depending on who you're talking about, like that's not even important.
Right. The governors.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, let me tell you something. If you haven't figured out you need to vote, this is a reminder. I know this is off topic, but if you haven't figured out that your vote matters, yes, your one vote matters, and all the people you influence that you tell to vote and you tell them why you're voting for this person, it matters because the people that we have in office, they're representing us, and some of us are just at our TV screens like, what? Who? Where? When? Who said that? And so you need to ensure that the people that you vote for that are going to be in office are going to have your best interests at heart. And I know that's not going to happen for every person every time, but some of the decisions these governors are making, our president's making, is it November yet?
Okay. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, ooh, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm nervous.
Right. And I see people sounding off in the comments, especially on Facebook. You know, you're right. Kwame said people are tripping. Yes, they are. They are tripping. Indeed. Your vote matters. I hear you, David.
They need to stop. Yes, they do. They need to stop.
But you know what? People have different opinions about so many things. And that brings me to, you know, something I want to show you, Joe. And I didn't give this to you early because I want to get your authentic reaction. It's not a secret, you know, secret. No, but listen, I wanted to get your authentic reaction. So I didn't show you this beforehand. I saw this post circling Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I think, you know, it depends on who you are, how you feel about it. So I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to put it up on the screen right here. So I'm going to read it. Those of you that are watching, you can see it as well. So this was a post that's being circulated, and it says, "Dear parents, don't stress about schoolwork. In September, I will get your children back on track. I'm a teacher, and that's my superpower. What I can't fix is social emotional trauma that prevents the brain from learning. So right now, I just need you to share your calm, share your strength, and share your laughter with your children. No kids are ahead. No kids are behind. Your children are exactly where they need to be. With love, all the teachers on planet Earth." Joe, talk to me. I need to know what are your thoughts?
Like all teachers, don't lump me in with your nonsense. Don't lump me in there. Do not lump me in. Like, you are entitled to your opinion, and that is fine. But like, I didn't ask to be like attached to your opinion. Like, I'm so sorry. Please. Oh my goodness.
Listen, when I tell you the comments were all over the place, some teachers were saying, yes, you're right. Nobody's behind. Just take care of the babies. And I said, man, let me see who's saying this, because I'm not really sure we have the option to do one or the other. I kind of think we need to do a mixture of both, right?
Wait. Nobody's behind. Like, okay, here's my thing. Do I think that there's some truth? Like, yes, maybe don't be on your kids like, did you do your work? Did you do your work?
Mm,
Every like 4.4 seconds. Like, this is a trauma. This is a collective trauma. Absolutely. Like 100%. And the parents have a huge role to play in the social and emotional learning of their babies. Absolutely. Absolutely. They are going to be pillars for their students for their children during this time. Like
mm-hmm.
100%. 100%. But to think that it's a partnership. And that's how I've always thought about me being a teacher and parents. It's a partnership. I'm doing what I can here at school, and you are doing what you can there at home. And that's why parent communication is so important, is that hopefully together we are like teaching the same things and keeping them accountable to the same things.
Right.
So yes, right now, as a teacher, I'm not like, excuse me, did you do your homework? Did you do your homework? No, I'm checking in to see how they're doing. What are their needs first? But I'm also doing my best to get them to learn, to
Right.
embed social emotional learning within my curriculum.
Exactly. It has to be, both, right? It's not one or the other, it's both. And I think that the same thing applies, in the traditional school sense. We need the parents to be participants in their students' learning just as much as we need the teachers, right? And too often, I think that from both sides, it becomes one or the other. We need both. And I want to again go back to the comments. Let me show you this one, because Kwame's in here speaking. He spoke my mind. He said she does not speak for all. She does not.
Real talk. No, she don't.
Real talk, right? And thank you, Kwame, for saying that, because I'm with you. Because ultimately, this partnership, it has to be. Again, going back to a transition period, of evolution that we're in, we have to understand this is different. And now, I said the last podcast, there's an opportunity to create a new normal. So when she says nobody's behind, wait a minute. I know I won't speak about our school in particular, but I know we've both taught students that have been behind when they came to us. So now, does that not mean that you won't be further behind? Because now is opportunity. You can use this time. You can use this time to grow, to develop, and that's why we're here today. That's what we're talking about in episode 4. So I just think that she speaks for a small few, from what I've heard, and we need to make sure that she's speaking for all of us. I have a T-shirt that says, teaching is my superpower, but I said no, not today. Today I'm gonna be a liberator. Okay, not after seeing that.
That expectation is just too high. Like, oh my goodness. Like, obviously, I think she's trying to say like we're gonna do the best we can, but that hope that you are instilling, basically saying like, don't worry, 3-4 grades behind, don't worry, in a year I got you. And you cannot do that. That learning does not happen in that way. Anyways, you can't just cram reading in like somebody's brain. That's not how it works. It takes time. Like, yes, of course. Will there be steps up? Maybe we can get you 1-2 grade levels up. But I just feel like that's a false sense of hope that you are instilling. And we mentioned this in our last podcast. How do we instill the idea that learning is intrinsic and that you should want to do it for the sake of learning? How do we develop lifelong learning? So in saying that it doesn't really matter right now, I'm like, no, it matters after social emotional learning, of course. Like,
Right.
Take care of your emotional, but don't say like, it's September. Bro, September's like, what month are we in? 4? September's 5 months away. We like, no, learning matters. Please.
And listen,
please.
I'm gonna be frank about it. I'm gonna be very frank about it. And this is something that, our guest last week, Christian, touched on. He said, for Black and brown kids, education, that's our equalizer, right? Having a strong educational foundation, that's where we can then move forward in life and then be able to build our families, because we often don't come from wealth. We don't come from a foundation of a strong education. Not all of us, some of us. Again, I don't want to blanket statement everybody. But if we don't use this time wisely, then if we're already behind, we're falling further behind.
Correct.
And for those of us who have economic boundaries, we need to be doing all that we can right now, because while the game is on pause, if you will, now's the time to keep going, because now's their opportunity to catch up.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I've been encouraging all of my students, former and current, listen, just because we're not having traditional school, find a way that you can learn. And I don't care if it's a podcast like this, YouTube videos, reading articles. It doesn't have to be you sitting in front of a textbook. right? Figure out how you can learn and go after it. Attack it.
Absolutely. And I mean, schools are closed. They got like,
Mm.
goodbye. We're not going back. We're not going back this year. And dare I say, I wonder what's going to happen in September. So, now what? Now what? Schools are closed. Now what? Tyrell, help me. Now what?
That's a really good question. I've been racking my brain trying to figure that out because, I think it was a bittersweet reaction that I had to hearing that. And Massachusetts Governor Baker finally came out, and I say finally because I feel like it was inevitable. We knew this was coming. The more we learned about COVID-19, the outbreak, the continuing spread, we knew that schools would be canceled for the rest of the school year at some point. Canceled in the sense of in person. Let me not say canceled, but just transitioned to online learning. And now it's just so bittersweet. I've seen all the posts for the seniors, for all the seniors that have been robbed. They've been robbed of prom, graduation. I mean, spring sports, just I feel for them because
I'm a tennis coach. Come on. I was excited.
it's awful. One thing I will say is positive is I've heard of a lot of schools now trying to hold a virtual prom. And I think that's a great idea because, again, we have to evolve. We have to change. So, holding a virtual prom, I think, is a way of, at least providing some sort of, moment, some sort of opportunity for them to create memories. It's not the same, but that's the time we're living in. What do you think? Now that school has been transitioned to online learning, what are your feelings?
I'm going to say something, but I got to shout out this comment. It says, the building is closed. School is open.
Well, all right now.
Oh, I love that. Actually, I'm just going to take that and have it as my thought. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, that is my co-teacher. I'm a fan.
Okay.
So I love that thought because I really think that right now it's going to be mental framing. A lot of this is going to be mental framing, right? School is open. The building is not closed. And might I say, for churchgoers, that is something that we are told, right? When you go to church, it's like where 2 or 3 are gathered. It's the spirit. You don't have to be at church to experience church. Right?
Preach
we don't have to be in that building. School is here. The teachers are here, and we are ready. We are ready to go. Like,
where's my towel?
Y'all would think I was.
Preacher. Oh my God.
I haven't even been to church in so long, but they
now's
stay
the time. Now's the time. They're online. All the services are online. Now's the time.
Some of them, and thankfully, but I digress. I won't even go there. But I think that is what it is. We are moving to a different time, and we just need to shift our mind to the building is closed, but school is still in session. And teachers are here and they are ready and we are working. I mean, this morning, that was my first Zoom meeting, 10 o'clock. There with the whole department and our principal and assistant principal talking about what's the schedule like and going through the problems and just discussing that because we are ready. We are going to deliver the education to these students 100%.
Yes, we are.
So I guess for me, school's out, but school's closed, but it is still in session. The building is closed, but school is in session. I guess that for me is now what. But this, if you don't know, by the way, this is a week of control. So many educators in Boston and New England are out for spring break. And the Teachers Lounge did a week of control. So we are focusing on what we can have control of. We said mind, body, pedagogy, personal and professional development during quarantine. So before we get into pedagogy, let's step back and because you have to be in control of your personal, I think, before you can truly be in control of your professional. So we're a month in. How are you doing, Ty? How are you doing?
I really had to pause because I keep saying it. It depends on the day. As the weather improves, my anxiousness increases. And I also noticed that for whatever reason, there seems to be a correlation as the weather has improved, especially leading up to spring break. for some of my students, their participation has decreased.
Mm.
So I'm trying to remedy that and figure out what solutions I can implement to get more of them to buy back in. For instance, this week I've gone live a few times on Instagram, try to engage them during spring break, so that way we don't have a complete week off where they're not hearing from me, not hearing my voice, not seeing me. I'm letting them know that I'm still, thinking about them, still miss them, and care about them. Um, but I understand, especially now as we come back from spring break, after hearing that the governor has, transitioned us to online learning, will they still buy in? So
Mm-hmm.
my mental state is a little all over the place, but I'm positive. I think that's the most important thing is I've stayed positive throughout this whole process. My belief that we're going to make it through has never wavered. And I've been blessed. My family in totality, no one has contracted the virus. We've stayed home. We've been diligent about, our hand washing and our hand sanitizer.
Blessings.
So I'm blessed. I'm blessed. What about you, Joe?
So this week has been so good. And I think last week I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I went on this, I was on this track. And so now we're like back up and it feels really, really, really good. But I think that has a lot to do with how I've been working to take control of my mental state during this time. I think like right now, we need to be thinking about what are we doing to take control of our mental state? Because if we don't, then it runs away with us. We're at the whims of just like, I don't know, the whims of our anxiety just taking over. But if we kind of like find ways to control ourselves, I feel like that is really helpful. So that's something that I've been doing. Is just trying to think about how I'm going to control my mental state.
Mm-hmm. I'll start with this as well, and this comes straight out of the book of Natasha Adeyemi, so I can't really take too much credit. That's my wife, for those of you who don't know. She definitely believes in clear your space, clear your mind. That's one of her mantras.
Okay.
So we've done some spring cleaning, we've done some quarantine cleaning, decluttered a few areas. The car, for one, you get things, you throw them in the trunk, in the back seat. The closet is another space. Clothes, I don't know if anybody else, I said it last week, I'm trying to remedy that. I did order, shout out to a couple of my friends that told me, get some resistance bands and get to work in the house. I did order them. They're on the way. Because when I did that closet clean, this COVID-19 I put on, a couple of things weren't going to make the cut. So we'll see. We'll see. I've got another month to get it together, so I'm working on it.
That is seriously awesome. That is amazing. And I think that your spring cleaning has been going way more successfully than mine. I must say mine is like, meh. We're
Just
more spring out. Like spring is like on the floors and ready to be put away. But that still has not happened. So there's that.
I have to go back to my boy Kwame here in the comments. He says, I hear Marie Kondo in your voice, Ty. He's exactly right. If you don't know Marie Kondo, she's a lady that she's very famous for saying, does this inspire joy? Does this spark joy? When you look at your items, and I've had to question that. Does this spark joy? Better yet, in my closet, does this still fit? That's the better question. Okay.
Oh my goodness!
Couple things still got tags. Let's move on. Let's move on. People finding out too much right now. They finding out too much about my closet.
Keeping it real. I'm here for it. I've been doing a lot of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
That's been big. Mm-hmm. Like every single morning. I've been really proud of myself because I think I'm on like a 21-day little streaky thing going on. And every day, just starting with like clearing my mind so that I can set the intention for the day. And because as I know I'm at home, but it seems like every minute of my day is occupied. I am busy. Like that is how I feel. I am busy. So just having that time to be like, what is it that I want to bring to my work today has been so helpful. So helpful. And that's one side of the mind. And then the other thing I've been doing is learning. Mm-hmm. So you've been saying it a lot. And I am taking 3 classes, y'all. And they are awesome. And they are free. Free, people. free. You should look into them. Here they are.
Freefree.
That's me. A.
Hey, hey.
So here are the classes I am taking, but if you go to either of these sites, you will see that they have an array of different things. edX is one and Coursera is the other. Through Coursera, I'm taking the Science of Wellbeing, and through edX, I'm taking an Intro to Python class and an equity class. And you are all welcome to just like increase your knowledge and learning as well. That is something that has been so important to me for my mind.
And the Science of Wellbeing, that's the most popular, most taken course at Yale, right?
Yes,
am I correct?
It is. It is. Dr. Lori, she is the person that runs it, and she started it in spring of 2018. And since then, 25% of Yale students attempt to take this class. It obviously fills up, but it is so popular and is one of the most highly recommended classes, online classes that you can take. If you Google like online learning, it comes up every time.
That is super cool. One other thing I would share that I'm doing, because again, it really depends on how are you connecting with this time, how are you learning, is I've started to journal again a little bit. And, I've transitioned from the pen and paper. Now I just use the notes in my phone. But I have a lot of thoughts that come to me in the shower. I don't know. I'm a bathroom thinker.
Shower thoughts are real. Shower thoughts are real.
I'm a bathroom thinker. I got me a waterproof case. So, sometimes, I have the phone in the shower.
In the shower with you, like, hold up.
Let's not tell too much. Okay. But I've started journaling just thoughts about different things that cross my mind throughout the day. I have aspirations to be, a published author of a novel. I've been published before in articles and things before, but I have a few manuscripts that I think need to be, unearthed. So yes. I'm working on that. That's another way I'm trying to control my mind, is just get these thoughts out, because we are spending a lot of time, for some of us especially, alone by ourselves.
Me.
So
don't tell my life.
So you need a way to stop it. You need a way to be able to get these thoughts out. And I think journaling is a great way to go about that. Whether you just keep it for yourself, if it's letters. One example I saw is someone decided to write letters to their family members that they don't talk to enough. And they just wanted to have an opportunity now, because they had the time, to write down some of their thoughts and share with their family members. Another one is to maybe write notes to your students. So it's just so many ways you can write down your thoughts and use this as a time to deliberate, because what are we going to do besides look out the window? You can only Hulu and Netflix so much.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like that's like, I don't know. It seems like that's all anybody is doing. I'm like, have y'all seen every episode of every show? Because
hey, quick plug, Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu. Thank me later. Woo! Little Fires Everywhere.
Little Fires Everywhere.
Go watch it. Hulu. Phenomenal. And it's short. It's short. It's only one season. I don't know how many episodes it was altogether, but go do it. Trust me. If you don't have a Hulu link, you know how to find it. Somebody. All right, let's move on.
You got to plug. Don't lie.
Let's move on before the FCA comes in here and shuts it down.
Oh my goodness. Tell me about your body. That's mine. Let's move to body. What is the plan for physical health? What is the plan for physical health?
So I have not been nearly as diligent as I hope to be. If I've dropped the ball anywhere, I got to be honest. If I've dropped the ball anywhere during quarantine, it's been with the body. I have not at all kept up with it. I know I've done some stretching intermittently. I said I was coming to the yoga classes this week that the Teachers Lounge put on. Didn't make it.
You still got one more Friday at 10.
I was getting ready to say,
Friday at 10. Yasmin is there. Come on, you can do it.
Yasmin to be there. I'm gonna think about being there. And I told you I already, sort of gave it away. I ordered those resistance bands, so I really plan on using those around the house to get my workout on. I used to box, so I'm eager to get back to that. And my boxing gym, they actually have been putting out Instagram videos of workouts. So another way that they're adapting, they provided those for free. So you can be at home with your 10-pound weights.
Oh, really?
And get it on.
10-pound weights. Oh.
Yeah. 15, 5,
2,
5, 2. Whoa.
Well, I just got baby arms.
2. I don't. I mean, 2. You got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So, listen, let me just put this up here because I have to shout out Amy because she said snaps while laying in bed. I know that feeling.
Yes, Amy.
I know that feeling, Amy. Okay.
Yo, David, don't sleep on Tyrell. Listen. He got the moves. He's quick. He is quick. He is quick.
Let's not get too crazy.
He is quick. Oh, but Tyrell, I feel you on the neglect of like anything physical. I'm like, spoon to mouth is about.
Can I tell myself one more time real quick? I'm going to let you get back to it. I may or may not have gone to the store after last week's podcast and bought the 3 for $10 Ben and Jerry's pints, and they're gone. I just want to be honest right now. I'm just going to put it out there because I'm going to start over May 1st. Should I tell them what I'm going to do in May? Because if you put it out there, then it's real.
They're going to be your accountability partners. Okay, everybody, y'all ready to be Tyrell's accountability partner?
Listen, I'm going to do 100K in May. 100K!
Yes! Woo! Hey, he's doing 100K in May.
I got to shout out my sister.
100K in May.
My sister told me about, I think people are doing 100 miles in April. And I said, no. That's not going to work for me. But what I will do, what I think I can commit to is 100K in May, which equals out to 62 miles. So that means, a little over 2 miles a day in May. And I can do that. We have 31 days. So why not 100K in May? If you want to join me, hit us up, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see me. I'm going to be posting every day my 2-mile run. I have a park right down the street. I've got a track not too far. I have no excuse. I've got plenty of sneakers. So it's time. 100K in May. Let's get out there, people.
100K in May. You know what?
Take
I haven't
control.
decided yet, but I might join you. I got that beautiful. I live near the Jamaica Plains Pond or Jamaica Pond. I don't know what it's called, but I live right there. And, it would be nice to start being a little active. So thank you for challenging us because the truth is my workout challenges have lasted like 1 week. Like I have worked out every single day this week with the Teachers Lounge. Every single, I have been there. Every workout, every yoga, I'm there. So thank you for making me like get up and be fit. I appreciate that because I'm not 100% sure. I am an intermittent faster. So I can tell you that I have still remained true to my intermittent fasting. So that's been about as healthy as I can tell you I've been. But then when I consume half a pint of Talenti ice cream, because I don't Ben and Jerry's, I Talenti, I got that booze.
Okay. All right. You got okay. Must be nice.
Boy, bye.
Notice I said mine was on sale. But, she buying Talenti. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, no, the health is not there. I'm eating what I want and I'm not moving. So I've got to switch that up. And, I'll just be challenging myself. It's mind over matter, thinking about how I'm going to be active. Maybe it is joining you on the Many Miles in May challenge. Or what is it? 100K in May. 100K in May.
Yes.
Because it's about getting moving and just doing what we can do, right?
You have to.
Our brain often during these times is not our friend. And that's what I've been realizing. Our brain wants to keep us in our comfort zone and there's no growth there. So it's been a month. I've had enough time to be comfortable and sedentary and eat all the things I want to eat. This isn't changing. And it's about time that I change to get with the times. Absolutely. France asked if bikes count, and I'm like, yes.
Why not? Again, we're talking about self-care, right? And self being the key word. So how you care for yourself, your body best, So if the bike is better for you, easier on the knees. I wish I had a pool. I do 100 laps, but that's not an option right now. So 100K in May, whether it's on the bike or you're running, it's up to you. 100K in May. Don't let the detractors, the doubters tell you no. Okay. I can see and hear my wife's side eyes from another room right now, but that's okay. When you see me out
Prove
there,
her.
when
Prove
you,
her wrong.
if you see me running through the streets of Waltham, honk the horn at your boy, okay? Because I'm doing 100K.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing. And I think that having our mind right and our body right is just going to make it so we can bring about our best selves to our students and to our work. And that is what matters most to us. Like right now during these times is what we're thinking is how do we bring our best selves to our work? So even if you are not a teacher, how are you bringing your best self to this? Okay. How are you going to bring your best self to this? So how have you been maintaining professional development during this time, Ty?
So, I was really thinking about this, and it stems from a conversation I had the other night with, again, my friend Kwame, fellow educator, fantastic math teacher, in BPS. So I had to give him a quick shout out. But this is a time, I think you just hit the nail on the head, right? We've been out for, a month. So I know a lot of people are saying this is not the time to take on tasks or set goals. And I understand that too. And you know yourself best. But for other folks, we've had this time to cope, to understand what we're dealing with. So now we can sort of transition into being more productive. So me and you both actually are in a restorative justice class that we're taking, which has been phenomenal. The conversations amongst other practitioners, thinking about how we're going to address this issue of the learning gap, but more so address the issue of not having our students in front of us to really feel what they're going through, because we can ask them all we want, how are you doing, how are things going, and some of them are going to offer up more than others. Some of them are going to be more forthcoming with how their situation is, and especially we need to make sure we're doing it privately, because I know some teachers are saying, well, I ask them how they're doing every time we have a Zoom meeting or Google chat call, and I'm like, yeah, but just like in class there may be 20-30 other people in there, so they can all hear you. I may not want to share my information. So make sure you're asking them privately. I've had a lot of private text threads with students, Instagram, TikTok, even just ask them how they're doing. But I really think about, as a practitioner, what am I going to do with this time? I'm trying to figure out how I can become a better student of social and emotional learning. I know that's something you really focus on. And I want to hear from you, because that's something you do constantly, all the time. It's embedded. So talk about it.
I won't dive too far down that rabbit hole because it honestly deserves its own section. But I will say that taking the equity course and thinking about my mindset during this time and how am I coming to this work with the equity mindset over an equality mindset. And just thinking like equality would mean, okay, well, you have a laptop and you have a laptop and internet, then you should be able to do these assignments. Like, come on. That's what I'm expecting of all my students. And equity is thinking, I don't know how many siblings you have if you're having to babysit. I don't know what you have going on right now that may be impeding your ability to access this material. I also don't know who's there to help you. There are a lot of things. Like, have you had access to food? Have you made it to the food bank? Like, what is going on there? And just thinking about how are my students doing during this time? And how do I have to amend myself and my expectations to make it so they are still successful and still held accountable, but differently.
Absolutely.
So that's just been something that I've really, really been thinking about in everything that I do with the kids, just thinking, okay, is this equity or is this equality? How am I holding them accountable while still meeting their social and emotional needs? Because that is very, very real. And ignoring them just leads to more distance, I feel like. When we don't try and understand where they are coming from, when we don't try to understand their needs and meet those first, right? I feel like Maslow's hierarchy of needs always gets like thrown out there, right? Mm-hmm. But if that base level is not met, how are we building upon it? Anything. Without a solid foundation, there is nothing to be built upon. And so in my opinion, that foundation is a social emotional learning. And in teaching them, how are you going to express what you need during this time? How do you do that? How do you express that to me? How do you express that to yourself? Like sometimes I feel like we're confused about what we're feeling. And we're adults. What about them?
Very
What
true.
about them?
Very
So
true.
how are we teaching them how to do that? Something I'm doing is helping them organize their time. So I am, it's still being developed, but I am making a just a schedule. It's just a week block schedule for them to kind of learn, how do I pace out this time now that somebody's not there to do it for me? Because
Mm,
generally at school, okay, I'm there from 7:30 to 2:35. Bell rings, I go class to class to class, and then I do my homework when I get home. Now it's do all of the things on your own, and
hmm
you seemingly have infinite amount of time. So that's something that I'm thinking about, and that's kind of the development I've been doing.
Organization is key, right? Personally and professionally, organization is key.
Yes.
I encourage people to take on those tasks of organization that you've been putting to the side forever,
Yes.
whether it be color coding, alphabetizing, enumerating, whatever it takes. Like organize your professional life along with your personal life, because ultimately, when you clear up clutter, you're freeing up space, freeing up your workspace to think for one, and it allows you to then tackle larger issues. Because once you clear up that space, you can then tackle larger personal development issues, or excuse me, personal development goals. Once you've cleared those issues out of the way. So I encourage people to organize, organize, organize. One thing you even did for us this week, which I know is a task, organizing your Google Drives, especially now that
Oh,
we're in
yes.
this digital space. Organize your Google Drives, put up folders, so that way you can find everything you're looking for immediately. You're not, what was the word I saved it under? Hmm,
Yo.
I think it was, did I spell it like this? That that becomes frustrating. I'm sure everyone knows that. And generally during a regular school day, we don't have time. So you
Right.
just say, I'll get to that later. Maybe you write a post-it note. Right now is the time to organize.
100%. 100%. And so some of announcements have been made about the plans moving forward into school. How are you feeling about that? Have you spoken to your admin about what the plans are moving forward now that like the official rollout? I feel you on why did we take so long, but how are you feeling about the plans that have been rolled out?
First and foremost, let me say I'm understanding, because I understand that our admin, they've been charged with um, a lot of development at a very uncertain time. They're still waiting to hear from their superiors. So I feel for them, because, we're all on edge waiting to hear their information, and they're waiting before they can roll something out to get the A-OK. So I've been feeling positive. I think that our school, I really got to give a big shout out to Madison Park Technical Vocational High School in Roxbury. They've done a great job of building a community, not only amongst the students, but amongst the staff, in terms of figuring out, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's a plan of action. I saw that we have a schedule now that we're coming out with right after spring break for our classes. So our students are going to have a full-on schedule, just like a regular school day. I think that that's a excellent thing to do, because a lot of our students, they weren't logging in day to day. They were just sort of throwing assignments together, at least some of mine, and then submitting them without a lot of effort. And we want to sort of provide them with more structure. And the other thing, the best part about what I saw about the schedule is starting at 10.
Yeah.
That's being cognizant of our students. They're not going to bed at, they already didn't go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night, but they're certainly staying up late. So we can't expect them to be, ready for action at 7:30 in the morning like we normally would, prior to this happening. So that I got to give a big kudos to our admin. When I saw that in the email, I said 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. I've been watching TV too, so yes, we've been honest. To be
No,
honest.
you're right. You're right. Like, and plus, the studies have shown that high school students should be having a later start anyway. So this is
Mhm.
really nice. This is really, really nice. And yeah, I love that you said you are bringing understanding, and I'm hoping to bring a little bit more of that as well. I'm feeling we went like 0 to 100 real quick, and I'm like, oh. This is going to be
Mhm.
really, really interesting, because we went from, hey, you don't have to, you're only doing supplemental information, to now
Right.
you're teaching new information and there's a schedule. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Whoa. And I'm just thinking, and fortunately, I belong to a department that is just so excellent. And one of the questions is like, so are we grading? What are we doing about students who can't make it to that time? Like, are we
Mhm.
allowing them other time? Because again, we are assuming that they don't have different roles in their life at home. So
Some still don't have access.
correct. And some still don't have access. So what are we doing to make sure that we account for those things? So there's still some, I'm feeling good because I think structure is important. And I think that the schedule will be nice. And I'm just still waiting for some answers on when does term 3 close? When does term 4 close? What are we doing with grades? Can we still grade? Like, is that an equitable practice during this time?
Hmm.
So I am really happy to be moving forward content and to still have the opportunity to do it in a different way than we did before. So I
I'm
am I'm excited.
that's you know what I'm really wondering, and I want to hear from people in the comments. What are their schools doing? Because since we both work at the same school, we have a similar experience. What is each person's school or district doing? I know we have a lot of viewers that listen outside of Boston, outside of Massachusetts, even. What are your school's plans? Share with us in the comments, and let us know whether you're streaming on YouTube or Facebook, or even if you're hearing this after the fact, which we always are on our social media. So let
Yes.
us know, what are your school's plans that they've implemented or that they plan to implement, now that, for the most part, a lot of states have already determined that we're not going back to the physical school building and we'll be continuing with online learning.
Right, right. And thinking about that, we're not administrators, you and I aren't, and we can't control what the administration do, but we are thinking about what are the things that we can control. So what is your plan of action to maintain control of your classroom during this time?
So for me, it really has come down to simplification,
Mm,
and trying to continue the same structures that we had in place when we were actually in the physical classroom, just transitioning them to online. So I don't want to provide my students with a lesser experience by any stretch, but I have decided that, okay, some of the activities and games, how can I make them more interactive so that they can happen on an online sense? So, for example, I know I've said it before, we still do an article of the week every week. That's a practice that we've continued. We still have our discussion questions, because sometimes we would just start conversation in the classroom about things that were happening in the here and now, because it's important for my students to be informed about what's going on
yes.
around them, and then build that in the curriculum. So in the last couple of weeks, we've read articles and watched some YouTube videos about coronavirus, about stopping the spread of viruses in general. We've also been talking about voting, and now we're going to be transitioning, after spring break. We're going to be discussing the idea of SATs and ACTs and standardized testing. And because so many schools now say, oh, you know what, we're going to waive, so many colleges and universities, let me say, we're going to waive that as a requirement. Why is that not the norm? Why can't we just waive that in general? Why is there
Ooh.
not another opportunity to prove to my, potential university or college that I am a worthy candidate to be at your school, your institution? So that's the next topic that we're discussing after spring break, is that, do we even really need the ACT and SAT or the
Mm.
GRE, since I took that too? So
That is
so
amazing.
mhm.
I really love that. I really like that. Simplifying while still maintaining rigor. Like that notion is like what I want to encapsulate into my practice as well. It's not about decreasing the rigor in the simplification. So I guess I am trying to figure out how to do that while still teaching difficult tasks. So we do I'm trying to think of what it is. Oh, I'm blanking. So we do an
Mhm.
investigate before we do like the work. Um, and so the reason we do that is so that they have a real life tangible thing that they can then build their vocabulary on. And we all now have something that we can always refer back to, because the assumption that we've all had the same life experiences is silly. So, but when we
Mm.
all do
Speak
this
on it.
investigate, right? Thank you.
Mhm.
Phenomenon first. Shout out to my co-teacher. She holds me down. Phenomenon first, right? So we are able to have that as something to go back to all the time. And so it's way more like memory. It creates a memory when you do it tangibly, when you can actually do it with your hands. And now we have just videos. Now we just have like this virtual way. So we're trying to find ways to bring that fun and make you feel hands-on,
Mhm.
even through this digital era. And so we've been doing an okay job, and I'm looking for more ways to do that. To do that, that is definitely the way that I will be what I will be focusing on
It's a great
bringing
place to
bringing
start.
those hands-on things, because that is
Absolutely.
what we can control.
For sure. I want to highlight another comment here. This is from Sky. She said that at her school, they're continuing Google Classroom assignments daily, but only requiring the kids to check in the class one time per week, but keeping constant feedback on Google Classroom. So it really is a different experience from school to school. And thank you for adding that comment, Sky, because we have to, again, just like Joe said, we have to remind ourselves that our students, many of them, they're not just sitting at home doing nothing. Their roles have changed in the household. Many of their parents even have required them to possibly pick up the slack because they've had to pick up another job or find another source of income for those who've been laid off. We have to be sensitive to that at all times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just seems like a lot of you are focusing. Denise said, let's make sure that we are focusing on mental health during this time as well.
Absolutely.
That is going to be so, so important. And just again, thinking about, what do you have control over? What are the things that you can bring and have control over? Because during this time where there's so much that is being done to us, we feel like we have lost control. Remembering that there are things that you have control over. Even though you may not like the schedule, you have control over your classroom. So less focus on the classroom and more focus on less focus on the schedule and more focus on what you are going to do in the classroom. Less focus on what you are doing, that the fact that we are still in lockdown, and what you are doing to bring about health, mental health, physical health, and thriving during this time. Focus on what you can control.
You know, professionally, I really think that this is the time to write out some goals. And one of the ways that I've decided to go back and start forth, and I know it's soon, but I thought about reissuing it, and I may still do that once we come back from spring break on this Monday, is to provide another syllabus as a way of sort of giving my students an idea of, what comes ahead in the days ahead, in the weeks ahead that we plan to touch on. So that way they are prepared. And they can even provide me maybe with some resources that they want to incorporate into the curriculum, because I let them know I'm coming up with this, with you. This is not just me providing you with materials and say, hey, go read this, answer these questions, write this essay. This is us having a conversation, right? And that's what really learning should be, is a conversation where I'm learning from you, you're learning from me. And we're using our resources to be able to facilitate that conversation. So I really encourage people, maybe you want to go back, create a syllabus. Maybe you're ready to create your syllabus for September with this new mindset that you've created during this time.
And actually, if you remember, we put up I think it was 2 episodes ago, we put up an amazing syllabus that one of our educators did. And we will be sharing that in our Instagram story. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you are following us at 2B Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, because we will be sharing how to make an excellent syllabus that is simplified but provides all of the information.
Ultimately, at this time, we should all be in our own way seeking to reach our highest potential. And what that looks like for you is different than me, is different for Joe. It really is a matter of the goals that you have set forth and you figuring out, what connects to my purpose. So that's really where you want to start your thinking. I know for me, a lot of it has to do with making sure that I'm being culturally responsive in my classroom, because one of the conversations as an ELA teacher, and Joe, I've mentioned this to you, that I've always had with so many other English teachers in particular is, what are our classics? And not to dive too far into that conversation, but a lot of times the classics that seem to be agreed upon are only the ones that are written by white males from hundreds of years ago. And I'm like, well, that's not classic to everybody. So that is something that I'm charged with, and I continue to be charged with when I think about how I'm teaching my students in this digital space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we move to our end, I want to thank the Teachers Lounge for this week of control. And I want to thank all of the people that made it happen.
Listen, so many shout outs to give. Let me start with Cap Aguilar. I hope I said your name right. You have been doing a fantastic job. We've all been really blessed. If you haven't been partaking, it's not too late to join the Teachers Lounge movement for spring break. I know there is the He Is Me Institute that I signed up for. They sent me a reminder email earlier today at 4 o'clock, and we'll put that down in our comments as well if you don't have the link. But Joe, we have a lot more people to thank. Let me not talk too long.
Yes, E for E.
Fire Fitness.
Harvard Graduate School of Education.
The He Is Me Institute again. Let me just shout them out.
Yes, Marlene Boyette.
Queen's Company, Queen's Co.
Team.
Teach for America. Thank you for that yesterday. That was fantastic.
Yasmin.
And we want to thank ourselves, right, for being a part of this. Who would we be if we didn't thank ourselves a little bit? And ultimately, I want to always go back to, E for E, Educators for Excellence. Thank you for being a supporter of ours, for sponsoring us. And then a big birthday shout out to David, our producer who's behind the scenes.
It's
celebrate his birthday.
It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
Shout out to you, David. I know that you had a great quarantine birthday. I celebrated mine during quarantine too. Us Aries got to stick together, man. We got to stick together. It's the best sign.
Oh my goodness. So we are wondering, how were those wrists feeling, huh? Were you in there chefing it up? Were you, or this way, your wrist could be like this.
I was eating ice cream. Don't tell nobody.
You already told everybody. Oh my goodness. Well, we really do hope you're feeling successful. You have completed 3 weeks of challenges so far. Okay. This is amazing, but we are not done. We are challenging you. We are challenging you to be creative. Please be creative. And no. We don't mean art and painting and drawing or writing. You can be, absolutely. But what we are saying is that during this time, we have lost so much control. We have lost so much control. But we don't want you to focus on that. We want you to focus on what can you control? What is it that even during this time, how can you find a creative solution to some of the things that you are unable to do? How can you find a creative solution to some of the things that you are unable to do? We are an adaptive species. And y'all, it is time for us to find ways that we can adapt, thrive, and take control. So less about what we can't do and more about what we can do.
That's
so
right.
We're challenging you. Be creative. Find those solutions to the things that you feel were taken away and bring them back.
I like that. Take control. Take control. Even if you are just taking control through what you're hearing. I appreciate the Teachers Lounge for setting forth the right mood with the SZA album as part of their theme, but take control even with what you're listening to. I know I've been in the mood for a lot of gospel this week, so it's really up to you. What you're putting in is going to definitely determine what you're getting out or what's being put out. So thank you for joining us. 2B will be back next week with more teacher talk next Thursday right here in the place on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live at 2 p.m. In the meantime, make sure you're following us at 2B Podcast. We're everywhere. You need to be there too.
Yes. And in the meantime, remember
to be good to yourself,
to be true to yourself,
to educate yourself. Peace.
Bye.